Imagine enduring cruelty in silence, your dignity stripped away day after day. How long could you remain strong? Meet Rosa, a kind-hearted African woman quietly bearing harsh mistreatment with unwavering dignity and resilience. Each humble action she performs reveals profound strength hidden beneath a life filled with quiet suffering. But how much pain can one person endure when cruelty knows no limits? Her wealthy employer's relentless abuse pushes Rosa to the edge. But every injustice conceals a powerful truth waiting to be revealed. When truth finally breaks free, Rosa rises, not with revenge, but dignity. As the saying goes, the wound is the place where the light enters you. Witness how one woman transforms deep scars into powerful strength. Have you ever faced injustice like Rosa's? Comment your thoughts below and tell us where you're watching from. Please like, subscribe, activate notifications, and share this inspiring story with your loved ones. The grand mansion stood coldly imposing against the early morning sun, beautiful yet unwelcoming. Inside, Rosa, an African maid with deep ebony skin and eyes filled with quiet endurance, carefully polished the ornate furniture. Suddenly, footsteps echoed angrily down the marble hallway. Patricia, her employer, approached with a stormy expression. Without hesitation, Patricia seized Rosa's arm roughly, her manicured nails digging painfully into Rosa's skin. "You call this clean?" Patricia sneered cruelly, gesturing angrily at an invisible speck of dust. Rosa's voice trembled softly, eyes lowered respectfully as she whispered, "I'm so sorry, madam." Patricia's pale face flushed red with rage, eyes narrowing into icy slits. "Sorry? Worthless woman, you never learn!" she shouted, sharply striking Rosa's face. The sound of the slap echoed harshly through the opulent room, leaving Rosa's cheek burning with humiliation. Rosa stood frozen, fighting back tears, dignity battling her profound shame. Patricia coldly smiled, her heart unmoved by Rosa's quiet suffering. From a shadowed corner, unseen by both, Patricia's teenage daughter Emma silently watched, her face troubled. Late afternoon sunlight streamed gently into the kitchen as Rosa quietly prepared dinner. Despite the morning's cruelty, she moved gently, carefully arranging each dish with practiced care. Emma quietly entered, standing hesitantly in the doorway, eyes filled with sympathy as she watched Rosa. Noticing the girl, Rosa offered a gentle smile, trying to mask the lingering pain behind her eyes. "Are you all right, Rosa?" Emma whispered softly, stepping cautiously closer. Rosa forced a gentle reassurance. "It was nothing, Miss Emma. Please don't worry yourself." Emma's eyes reflected doubt, clearly sensing Rosa's hidden anguish, but she said nothing more. Instead, Emma offered a timid smile and left the kitchen quietly, clearly troubled by Rosa's suffering. Alone again, Rosa gently touched her bruised cheek, wincing slightly at the tenderness. She quickly steadied herself, drawing strength from memories of her mother's wise counsel. Pain can teach us endurance. With quiet dignity, Rosa continued preparing the meal, silently determined to endure whatever cruelty awaited her next. Yet deep in her heart, Rosa longed desperately for justice, quietly wondering if it would ever come. That evening, as Patricia entertained wealthy guests in the lavishly decorated dining room, Rosa quietly served dinner. She moved gracefully, skillfully balancing heavy silver trays, eyes carefully avoiding Patricia's critical stare. Without warning, Patricia deliberately bumped Rosa's tray, sending dishes crashing loudly to the floor. Guests gasped dramatically, turning accusing eyes toward the visibly shaken maid. "How dare you embarrass me!" Patricia screamed theatrically, feigning victimhood before her guests. Rosa knelt hurriedly, desperately gathering broken pieces, hands trembling with humiliation. Hot tears stung her eyes as she murmured quiet apologies, feeling deeply unjustly accused and humiliated. Patricia stood smugly above, reveling in Rosa's shame, openly mocking her clumsy helplessness. Emma watched quietly from the staircase, face pale and distressed, deeply disturbed by her mother's cruelty. Rosa carefully stood, humiliated yet composed, avoiding eye contact, dignity faintly preserved amidst public shame. Patricia dismissed her contemptuously, coldly ordering her out of sight. As Rosa left the room, heart aching, she silently prayed that someday truth and justice would emerge. Days blended into relentless weeks, filled with constant escalating abuse from Patricia toward Rosa. Bruises multiplied painfully beneath Rosa's clothing, each hidden mark a silent testament to ongoing cruelty. Yet Rosa never retaliated, enduring quietly, always offering kindness even in her deepest pain. One afternoon, while working tirelessly in the garden, Rosa noticed Emma quietly crying alone. Moved deeply by compassion, Rosa gently approached, voice soft and soothing. "Miss Emma, are you hurt?" Emma startled slightly, quickly wiping her tears, embarrassed yet deeply moved by Rosa's genuine concern. "It's nothing, Rosa," Emma murmured unconvincingly, eyes betraying deep emotional turmoil. Rosa knelt softly beside her, gently placing a comforting hand on Emma's shoulder, silently offering reassurance. Emma, unable to hold back, softly confessed, "I just hate how cruel my mother is to you." Rosa smiled gently through her own sadness, softly reassuring Emma. "Kindness always wins, Miss Emma, remember that." Emma nodded quietly, feeling profound gratitude and respect for Rosa's gentle wisdom and quiet strength. In that moment, Rosa found quiet satisfaction, comforted briefly knowing her suffering hadn't hardened her heart. Evening shadows fell softly as Rosa carried laundry upstairs, her weary body aching from relentless labor. As she quietly ascended the staircase, Patricia abruptly appeared at the landing, blocking Rosa's way menacingly. Patricia's cold eyes glittered dangerously, her lips twisted into a cruel smile anticipating violence. "You think Emma cares about you? Pathetic!" Patricia hissed bitterly, suddenly shoving Rosa forcefully backward. Rosa lost balance instantly, heart pounding with terror, her body tumbling helplessly down the hard marble steps. Sharp pain exploded through her limbs as she hit the floor, laundry scattering around her broken figure. Blood trickled slowly from Rosa's head, staining her simple dress, eyes briefly wide with pain and shock. Patricia stared coldly down at Rosa's injured body, eyes devoid of remorse, calmly stepping over her unconscious form. Hidden nearby, Emma stood frozen, pale and horrified, heart wrenching painfully at witnessing the brutal attack. Tears streamed silently down Emma's young face, overwhelmed by her mother's cruelty, knowing she could stay silent no longer. With trembling fingers, Emma quietly reached for her phone, making a decision that would forever change their lives. Meanwhile, Rosa lay helplessly injured, drifting toward unconsciousness, silently praying justice would someday come. Rosa woke up in a sterile, brightly lit hospital room, her body bruised and broken, pain radiating from every part of her. The steady beep of the heart monitor was the only sound, her mind clouded and disoriented as she tried to process her reality. Her body was covered in bandages and stitches, bruises painted across her skin like silent reminders of her suffering. Her eyes slowly focused on the room around her, catching glimpses of worried faces, hospital staff moving around quietly. The pain was almost unbearable, but her heart ached more for the life she'd left behind. Was she really worth saving? A soft voice, unfamiliar yet comforting, broke through her dazed thoughts. "Rosa, you're awake. You're going to be okay." It was a nurse, standing by her bedside, a gentle smile on her face, though her eyes were filled with sadness. Rosa tried to speak, but her throat was raw, and her voice came out in a hoarse whisper, "Patricia, what happened?" The nurse's expression shifted, eyes filled with a mixture of compassion and quiet dread, but she didn't answer directly. Instead, she simply placed a hand gently on Rosa's, offering the only comfort she could in that moment. For Rosa, the world felt like it was slipping away, each breath a painful reminder of how much had been taken from her. Yet somewhere deep inside her, a flicker of defiance remained. This wouldn't be the end. She would survive. She would find a way to fight. Patricia sat in a courtroom, her face emotionless, her posture rigid and upright, a stark contrast to the inner chaos she was trying to suppress. The trial had begun. Rosa had pressed charges, and the evidence of abuse, now undeniable, weighed heavily against Patricia. But Patricia didn't look ashamed. She looked only annoyed, as though this was a minor inconvenience she was forced to endure. Her lawyer spoke confidently, weaving lies with practiced ease, attempting to paint the scene as a mere accident, a tragic misunderstanding. Rosa's testimony had been powerful, but Patricia's dismissive attitude only made it harder for her to hold on to her strength. Rosa sat across the courtroom, eyes locked on Patricia, still recovering from her injuries, but determined to face her tormentor. Every word of Patricia's defense felt like a slap, each lie a new wound reopening on Rosa's broken soul. Yet Rosa held her ground, fists clenched in her lap, knowing that justice was the only thing that mattered now. Emma was in the gallery, sitting quietly, eyes locked on her mother, her mind torn by guilt for her silence up until now. The courtroom buzzed with tension, the air thick with anticipation, but the finality of justice seemed distant, almost out of reach. But for Rosa, there was no turning back. She had to see this through, no matter the cost. It was the only way to heal. The days blurred into each other as the trial continued, Rosa's physical and emotional pain never ceasing, but her resolve only growing. Emma, now a key witness, had reluctantly agreed to testify, her voice shaking as she revealed everything she had witnessed in secret. "I saw it all," Emma whispered, her eyes wet with guilt, her hands clenched tightly in her lap. "I saw what my mother did to her." Rosa felt a pang of empathy for Emma, who had been caught between the cruelty of her mother and the injustice of Rosa's suffering. Patricia, however, remained unyielding, still refusing to take responsibility for her actions, stubbornly clinging to her lies. Rosa could see it in Patricia's eyes, an unwillingness to accept her guilt, an arrogance that seemed to believe she could escape consequence. But as Emma's testimony continued, the truth began to resonate deeply in the courtroom, with the audience's eyes now openly sympathetic toward Rosa. Rosa felt a strange mix of anger and relief, realizing that Emma's courage could be the key to breaking the chains of silence that had bound them all. She focused on Emma's shaking voice as it recounted every moment of Rosa's torment, finally forcing the truth into the light. For Rosa, the words felt like a heavy weight lifting, the truth finally breaking free from the shackles of lies that had held it captive. With each word, she felt a small piece of her dignity restored, and for the first time in a long while, hope began to flicker inside her. The courtroom grew silent as the final arguments were made. Rosa sat quietly, her heart racing, nerves threatening to overwhelm her. She looked across at Patricia, who was still defiant, sitting upright with a cold smile, as if she were somehow untouchable. Rosa's mind flashed back to the countless days of abuse, the harsh words, the cruel treatment that had taken everything from her. Her body ached, but her heart burned with a quiet fire, the fire of someone who had endured too much to let this moment slip away. Patricia's lawyer presented their last defense, weaving a story of Rosa as a liar, a woman out for revenge, hoping to undermine the truth. But the lies didn't hold as firmly as they once did, and the weight of Rosa's testimony lingered, undeniable and pure. Rosa's eyes met the judge's, silently pleading for justice, her breath shallow, her body trembling but unwavering. Emma sat behind her, visibly upset, yet a flicker of hope shining in her eyes, knowing she had done the right thing by speaking out. The judge paused, and the silence in the room felt like an eternity, each second heavy with the possibility of justice. Finally, the gavel came down, and the judge's voice broke through the tension. Guilty as charged. Rosa exhaled a breath she hadn't realized she was holding. Justice had been served. Finally, the pain would start to fade. The days after the trial were filled with emotions that were both overwhelming and healing. Rosa stood before a mirror, the reflection of her battered body stark, but her spirit unbroken. The scars, both physical and emotional, would remain for a lifetime, but Rosa was ready to face them, ready to start anew. She'd fought, she'd survived, and now she would reclaim what was rightfully hers. Her life, her dignity, her strength. Patricia, behind bars, was left to stew in her own hatred, her victim turned victor, her lies exposed for the world to see. Rosa walked out of the hospital, her steps slower but more confident than they had been in weeks. The weight of the past still there but no longer defining her. Emma stood in the hallway, hesitant but relieved. Her eyes filled with respect and apology as Rosa approached. "I'm sorry for everything, Rosa," Emma said softly, her voice filled with sincerity. "You're so strong. I hope one day I can be like you." Rosa smiled gently, placing a hand on Emma's shoulder. "You already are, Emma. You already are." With that, Rosa stepped out into the world once more, knowing the future was hers to shape. She had been broken, but now she was whole again. And for the first time in years, she walked forward without fear, her head held high and her heart open to the new beginnings ahead. Justice had been done, but now the real journey of healing and transformation was just beginning. Life outside felt unfamiliar, yet beautifully liberating, as Rosa navigated her newfound freedom, savoring the small joys long denied. Her wounds were healing, but deeper scars still lingered within, reminders of the dark cruelty she'd faced. One afternoon, while walking through the local market, Rosa caught sight of familiar faces, neighbors and acquaintances who'd heard about her ordeal. Some avoided eye contact out of discomfort or guilt, while others offered sympathetic smiles, acknowledging her quiet bravery. She felt vulnerable under their curious gazes, each look silently questioning how she'd endured such cruelty and still remained standing. Despite the whispers and glances, Rosa maintained a dignified calm, determined not to be defined solely by her suffering. She carefully selected fresh produce, small gestures, reminding her of the simple, ordinary pleasures she once feared she'd lost forever. At the market's edge, an older woman approached, her face lined with wisdom, eyes gentle yet piercingly insightful. "I heard what you endured, child," the woman spoke softly, her voice filled with quiet respect. "Pain reveals the strongest spirits." Rosa smiled shyly, grateful yet overwhelmed, feeling seen clearly for the first time in so long. Though uncertainty lingered, moments like these gently reminded her that her journey of healing was just beginning. Yet deep down, Rosa wondered softly, would the painful memories ever truly fade away? Weeks passed quietly, Rosa slowly rebuilding her life, her modest apartment now a sanctuary of safety and peace. Friends frequently visited, their presence offering warmth and support, gentle reminders that she was no longer alone. Emma also visited regularly, always shy at first, but each conversation helped bridge the emotional gap between them. One day, Emma brought a small gift, a delicate silver necklace, offering it hesitantly with quiet sincerity. "It's just to remind you of your strength, Rosa," Emma murmured softly, her eyes filled with earnest hope. Rosa gently held the necklace, its simple beauty reflecting the gentle healing taking place within her heart. "Thank you, Emma," Rosa whispered warmly, embracing the gesture and the thoughtful kindness it represented. Emma's visits became moments of mutual healing, slowly erasing guilt and pain from both their hearts. Each shared conversation deepened their bond, forging trust and compassion from a past filled with cruelty and fear. Yet beneath the surface, Rosa's emotional wounds still quietly whispered fears and insecurities she struggled to silence. Still, each day of friendship and kindness brought her closer to a reality where the past no longer dictated her worth. But Rosa often wondered, would the shadows of cruelty ever fully leave her soul? Just when Rosa believed life had finally settled, she received unexpected news. Patricia had requested to see her. The very thought made Rosa's heart race anxiously, painful memories immediately flooding her mind. Friends urged caution, warning Rosa of the emotional danger, worried Patricia would reopen old wounds. Emma also expressed deep concern, gently pleading, "You don't owe her anything, Rosa. Protect yourself." Yet something deeper stirred within Rosa, a quiet inner voice insisting that facing Patricia one final time was necessary for closure. After much careful reflection, Rosa agreed to the meeting, her heart heavy yet resolute in her decision. Entering the bleak visitation room, Rosa immediately saw Patricia seated behind protective glass, her pale face cold and arrogant even now. Patricia's eyes narrowed slightly, a cruel sneer forming as Rosa calmly approached, dignity evident in every careful step. "Why did you come here?" Patricia snapped, her voice dripping with bitterness, resentment coloring every word. Rosa met Patricia's angry glare steadily, her voice gentle yet firm. "Because I needed to finally let you go." Patricia faltered momentarily, shocked by Rosa's unexpected composure, unable to comprehend the quiet strength before her. But Rosa's heart quietly wondered, would this confrontation finally allow her to fully reclaim her peace? Still emotionally shaken after confronting Patricia, Rosa sought solace in a place she'd always found comforting, the local community center. There, she encountered an elderly counselor named Abigail, a woman whose serene wisdom was evident in every softly spoken word. Seeing Rosa's distress, Abigail gently invited her into a quiet room, her eyes filled with compassion and understanding. As Rosa cautiously shared her painful past, Abigail listened patiently, her calm presence a balm for Rosa's raw wounds. "You carry heavy scars, Rosa," Abigail finally spoke softly, her voice soothing yet firm. "But remember, scars are proof of survival." Rosa absorbed Abigail's powerful words, her heart gently stirred by the older woman's quiet wisdom and kindness. "Your past shaped you, Rosa, but you alone choose your future," Abigail gently advised, her words resonating deeply within Rosa. Inspired by Abigail's gentle guidance, Rosa felt a powerful shift beginning within, her inner strength growing quietly but steadily. Days turned into weeks, Rosa frequently visiting Abigail, each session gradually rebuilding her emotional foundations. She learned to honor her pain without being defined by it, slowly rediscovering the inner power that cruelty had tried to erase. Yet, Rosa privately wondered, could she fully embrace the future Abigail envisioned, finally leaving her traumatic past behind? In quiet moments alone, she hoped deeply. Was lasting healing truly within her grasp? Guided by Abigail's wise counsel, Rosa began actively reshaping her life, carefully choosing activities that filled her days with purpose and positivity. She started volunteering at the community center, gently helping others facing struggles of their own, her past pain quietly fueling her compassion. One afternoon, as Rosa comforted a young woman recovering from abuse, she recognized a quiet reflection of herself in the woman's haunted eyes. Sharing her own painful journey openly for the first time, Rosa offered sincere hope. "You are stronger than the pain they inflicted. Trust your strength." The young woman's grateful tears deeply moved Rosa, clearly showing her the healing power that came from transforming personal pain into kindness for others. This realization profoundly shifted Rosa's heart, filling her with quiet gratitude and an unexpected sense of fulfillment. Emma joined Rosa at the center often, the two of them forming a powerful team, united by compassion born from shared suffering. Together, they worked gently to lift the burdens of others, their bond growing stronger through every shared moment of healing. Rosa felt her heart expand quietly, realizing she was no longer simply surviving but truly living, finally free from Patricia's lingering shadow. Her life had meaning, each small act of kindness quietly rewriting her story into one of hope and resilience. Yet beneath Rosa's newfound confidence, she still quietly wondered, would this fragile peace truly endure? Could her newfound purpose and gentle strength fully silence the painful echoes still lingering softly within her soul? As months passed, Rosa blossomed under Abigail's mentorship, her once broken spirit now quietly radiating gentle confidence. Yet Rosa knew true healing meant facing her deepest fear, returning to the mansion, the scene of so much trauma. Emma gently offered support, promising to accompany her. Yet Rosa insisted calmly, "This step I must take alone." On a crisp autumn morning, Rosa stood before the mansion, her heart pounding anxiously yet resolutely within her chest. She slowly approached the towering doors, each step feeling heavier with memories of Patricia's relentless cruelty. Inside, the mansion remained empty and cold, a silent testament to the darkness Rosa had endured, yet conquered. Walking slowly through familiar rooms, Rosa faced vivid memories that surged painfully but bravely confronted each one. She paused at the staircase, her hand trembling as she gently touched the railing, the place where Patricia nearly ended her life. But now, Rosa stood firm, whispering softly to herself, "You didn't break me. I am still here." Stepping back outside, she inhaled deeply, feeling lighter, as if shedding the weight of the past she'd carried for so long. She knew she'd truly reclaimed her power, confronting her fear directly and emerging even stronger, renewed in spirit. Yet quietly she wondered, was this finally enough to silence the echoes of pain that still whispered softly within her? One peaceful evening, as Rosa rested after volunteering, a sudden knock at the door startled her. Opening it hesitantly, Rosa was shocked to see Emma standing there, visibly shaken, tears streaming down her pale face. "Rosa, my mother escaped," Emma whispered frantically, eyes wide with fear. "They think she might come for you." Rosa's heart plummeted instantly, her blood running cold as past terrors swiftly returned, gripping her tightly. Immediately, she felt vulnerable again, Patricia's shadow haunting her peace, threatening all the healing she'd fought for. How could this happen? Rosa whispered brokenly, her voice trembling, the horrifying news shattering her fragile sense of safety. Emma embraced her gently, her own guilt overwhelming as she murmured apologies for her mother's continued cruelty. Rosa stood shaking, her mind racing. Would Patricia's darkness forever haunt her, never truly allowing her peace? Fear clawed relentlessly at her heart, testing every ounce of resilience she'd painstakingly built. Emma pleaded softly, "Please, Rosa, stay with me. I won't let her hurt you again. You're not alone this time." But as Rosa quietly nodded, a haunting question lingered. Could she truly escape Patricia's lingering hatred? She wondered desperately, was genuine peace forever beyond her grasp? Days of fearful tension followed, Rosa quietly sheltering with Emma, constantly glancing anxiously over her shoulder. Sleep eluded her entirely, her nights haunted by nightmares where Patricia's cruelty loomed large once more. Emma stood steadfastly beside Rosa, her gentle presence offering quiet reassurance amidst escalating anxiety. Meanwhile, authorities tirelessly searched, hoping to recapture Patricia swiftly, yet each day without results deepened Rosa's fear. Feeling emotionally exhausted, Rosa sought Abigail's wisdom once more, desperately needing reassurance and guidance. Abigail warmly embraced her, offering calming words. "Strength isn't the absence of fear, Rosa. It's acting despite it." Encouraged by Abigail's compassionate wisdom, Rosa quietly resolved not to surrender again to Patricia's lingering shadow. She strengthened her resolve, determined not to be robbed of her freedom and dignity ever again. Her quiet courage gradually returned, fighting back against the relentless fear, reminding herself of all she'd overcome. Yet Rosa still quietly wondered, was her resilience enough to withstand Patricia's final act of cruelty, still lurking unseen? Inside, she desperately hoped her courage would finally be stronger than Patricia's persistent hatred. But quietly she questioned, was her newfound strength truly unbreakable? Late one night, alone while Emma briefly stepped out, Rosa suddenly heard a chillingly familiar voice calling softly from outside. Heart pounding wildly, Rosa cautiously moved toward the window, glimpsing Patricia's ghostly figure standing menacingly in shadows. Patricia's cold, hateful voice pierced the silence. "You ruined my life, Rosa. I'll never forgive you." Fear surged violently, freezing Rosa momentarily, every painful memory threatening to overwhelm her entirely. But within that terrifying moment, Rosa felt Abigail's words echo powerfully. "Your scars are proof of your survival." Drawing strength from within, Rosa stood firmly, her voice calm yet unwavering as she faced Patricia through the glass. "You don't own my fear anymore, Patricia. I've reclaimed myself and you have no power here," Rosa stated bravely. Sirens suddenly pierced the night, lights flashing, authorities swiftly arriving to apprehend Patricia once again. As Patricia was firmly restrained, her hateful screams faded, powerless against Rosa's quietly courageous defiance. Rosa's body trembled slightly, emotional exhaustion washing over her, yet a profound peace filled her heart. Emma arrived, embracing Rosa tightly, relieved tears falling gently as the threat finally vanished into the night. Yet Rosa quietly wondered, had she truly silenced Patricia's hateful echoes forever? Weeks after the terrifying encounter, Rosa stood calmly by the community center's garden, gentle sunlight warming her face. Patricia was securely imprisoned, her threats finally silenced, allowing Rosa to fully reclaim her life without fear. Emma remained close. Their friendship strengthened immeasurably, rooted deeply in shared survival and courage. Abigail approached Rosa, softly placing a comforting hand on her shoulder, eyes filled warmly with pride and gentle satisfaction. "You've traveled a difficult path, Rosa, yet emerged stronger. Your scars have become your quiet strength," Abigail gently affirmed. Rosa smiled softly, understanding now that her traumatic past no longer defined her worth or limited her dreams. She'd risen above cruelty and pain, transforming her suffering into powerful compassion, kindness, and purpose. The community center garden bloomed vibrantly around her, symbolizing her own quiet yet profound rebirth and resilience. Rosa knew her journey toward healing would continue, yet she faced the future confidently, now truly free. Turning toward Emma and Abigail, her eyes glistening gently, Rosa whispered softly, "I'm finally ready to live again." As the sunlight embraced her gently, Rosa wondered warmly what new adventures awaited her courageous heart. Viewers, what did Rosa's brave journey mean to you? Comment below, share your thoughts, and remember to subscribe for more inspiring stories of courage, resilience, and redemption.